I'm literally reading it and I can't even read. Hello, I'm Charlotte and this is Books and Bargains. Today we're going to talk about the books that I am really excited for that are being released in August. Now, I went on to make my list this morning and a few that I thought were being released this month have been pushed back to September and October, which is always disappointing. But lucky for me, they're books that I've already read, so it's more disappointing for you guys than me. And I just kicked the camera stand. I keep kicking the camera stand, so I'm sorry if it wobbles at any point, but I'm using my new setup that you will have got used to in my vlogs. This is a desk that I have in front of me, so I have my laptop here now, and it just feels a little bit easier for me. Let me know down below if you like this new setup. I know a few of you said on my vlogs that you did, but it just means that instead of having like bits of paper everywhere, I can have it laid out in front of me, and hopefully I won't get into a mess in these vlogs. I'm just going to drink some coffee and then we'll get straight in. The first book I've got to share with you is The Vintage Dress Shop in Primrose Hill by Annie Darling. Now, I have read Annie Darling's, I don't think I've read all of them actually. I think I've read the first 2 out of 4. And there's just something about the way Annie Darling writes. The more I think about some of her books, I think that I wasn't particularly keen on the romance in the first one, and I wasn't particularly keen on something in the second one, and yet they're still books that have stuck with me, and I don't think I would reread. They're not like up their top favourites, but I still really enjoyed them. So this is a new series by Annie Darling. I think the last one's finished kind of 4 or 5 years ago. I think it's been a long time coming, and this, what can I say? It's been released on the 3rd of August in Kindle, paperback and audiobook. I don't think I need to go too much into the blurb on this one. All I had to really read, even if I hadn't read Annie Darling before, is perfect for fans of Cressida McLaughlin, because you know that her and Heidi Swain are up there with some of my absolute favourites. But anyway, let me read you the blurb. It says, Sophie Stevens is moving to Australia. Turning 30 has found her unexpectedly out of a job, out of a relationship, and just in need of something different. And Australia, where she can finally meet her grandparents and surprise them on their wedding anniversary, looks like the perfect answer if she can save up the money for the plane ticket. So when her feckless absent dad Jono offers her a job at his vintage clothes shop in Primrose Hill, she can't turn it down. It'll only be for a few months after all, but the vintage dress shop turns out to be a treasure trove of gorgeous pre-loved clothes, from a 1930s cocktail gown to a never-worn 50s wedding dress, and despite the disapproval of the snooty manager Phoebe, Sophie starts to fall in love with vintage fashion. And then there's Charles Radley, the debonair gemstone specialist with exquisite tailoring, cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass, and enough charm to throw Sophie's plans wildly off course. So, what more can I say about that? It just sounds like the perfect book for me. I did try and read earlier in the year. I think it was Josie Silver that did the Vintage Shop of Second Chances, and I really couldn't get into that one. I'm really hit and miss when it comes to books with charity shops or vintage shops in them. Another one that I couldn't get into was Louise Pentland's Time After Time. So yeah, the jury's out on this one. I know that I shouldn't be talking about this in the video. I should be saving this for the vlog and the wrap-ups, but I'm currently reading Pre-Loved by Lauren Bravo, and that looks to be a 5-star read for me. The second book I have to share with you today also has its paperback release on the 3rd of August, but this has been out in hardback and Kindle for a long time. I have my proof copy here, which says it was released on the 5th of the 5th, 2022, and this is Sarah Manning's London with Love. I will put up the finished cover here as well so you can see what it looks like. I'm not overly keen on the paperback cover. This one is so pretty, and yet this one, it just doesn't do it justice. I think if you're a paperback collector, you get a bum deal some of the time, because a lot of books, the hardback is so gorgeous and then the paperback is just meh. So to any authors and publishers out there, if you make your paperback stunning, I love you. Anyway, this book, I absolutely love this. This was a romance with London at its heart. I think if you're a fan of Sex and the City and how they talk about Sex and the City with New York being a character of its own, I almost feel like in this one, London is a character of its own. This spans quite a few years. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I read this. It's definitely due a reread. But part one starts in 1986 and the epilogue is in 2021. So that's 35 years, I think. If my maths is wrong there, I do apologise. However, this is one of those epic love stories that spans, like I say, 35 years. Very much reminiscent of Eva Carter's How to Save a Life, in the way that these two characters are almost keep kind of crossing paths at every point in their life. And this book, although it's a romance, had some really hard-hitting themes throughout. Think of kind of Danny Atkins style books where the romance is central to it, but it's about so much more than just the romance. There's a few dates in this one in that 30-year span that I just saw the date and went, oh, like, you know what's coming and you feel this sense of dread for them that this is coming. And yeah, it was just beautiful. I think Sarah Manning is such an underrated author. This is only the second book that I've read from her. I also read Rescue Me, which was a beautiful dual narrative romance about two people who co-parented a dog. And yeah, if you're into kind of romances that have a bit more to them than just the romance, I think you'll really enjoy this one. I think I already said, but this is out on August the 3rd. And then on August the 10th is Family Law by Elizabeth Acevedo, and this is out in hardbook, ebook and audio. This is Acevedo's first adult novel, and from what I believe, I can't actually find the answer anywhere. I'm probably just not looking in the right place, but I think that this is not in verse. So I have read and loved and given 5 stars to Clap When You Land and With the Fire on High, which are both... Actually, no, I don't think With the Fire on High was in verse, but Clap When You Land was in verse and was absolutely beautiful. And Family Law sounds like it's right up my street. So the blurb for this one is: the Mate women are preparing for a gathering that will change their lives forever. Flor has a gift. She can predict to the day when someone will die. So when she decides to host her own living wake, bringing together her family and community to celebrate her long life, her sisters Matilda, Pastora and Camilla are concerned. What has she foreseen? But Flor isn't the only one with a secret. Matilda has tried to hide the extent of her husband's infidelity for years, and now must confront the true state of her marriage. Pastora, always on a mission to solve her sister's problems, needs to come to terms with her past. And Camilla, the youngest sibling, has decided that she no longer wants to be taken for granted. Alongside their struggles, the next generation of martyr women face their own tumult of family obligations, infertility and heartache. Spanning the 3 days prior to the wake, Family Law traces the intertwining stories of these sisters and cousins, mothers and daughters, aunts and nieces, to ask the ultimate question: what does it take to live a good life for yourself and those you love? And doesn't that just sound perfect? Like, I love when an author that I already love in one age bracket goes to another. And yeah, I probably won't read this one for a while. Like I say, it's out in hardback and Kindle at the moment, and as you know, I am on a no spend year, but this is definitely up there for one that I'm going to stalk my library for. My library is very small, but I do have BorrowBox and Libby, so hopefully, and Scribd, so hopefully it will come on to one of those. But I just thought it sounded lovely. And in contrast to the last book that is written over so many years, I also like these books that are written over kind of 24 hours or a week. And yeah, looking forward to that one being released. And then on August the 17th, we have the newest offering from Catherine Ryan Howard. I have read now 3 Catherine Ryan Howard books, because I think I have read The Nothing Man, 56 Days and Runtime, and given them all 4 or 5 stars. So Catherine Ryan Howard is definitely up there with an insta-buy author for me. And this one, if I didn't already say, is out in hardback, audio and ebook. And again, this just sounds right up my street. It says, stranded on a dark road in the middle of the night, a young woman accepts a lift from a passing stranger. It's the nightmare scenario that every girl is warned about, and she knows the dangers all too well. But what other choice does she have? As they drive, she alternates between fear and relief, one moment thinking he is just a good man doing a good thing, the next convinced he's a monster. But when he delivers her safely to her destination, she realises her fears were unfounded. And her heart sinks because a monster is what she's looking for. She'll try again tomorrow night, but will the man who took her sister take the bait? And that, to me, just gave real kind of sweet pea vibes. I'm still looking for something to fill the sweet pea shaped hole in my heart. And yeah, it sounded really good. I will say, because it does say in here, inspired by a series of still unsolved disappearances, The Trap is a startlingly original new thriller from internationally best-selling author Catherine Ryan Howard. And I will say Amelia from Amelia Barlow Books recently read The Nothing Man, which I personally absolutely loved. And she said that it was very, very heavily inspired by I'll Be Gone in the Dark and the... oh, what's the word I'm looking for? And the real life murders of the Golden State Killer. I think I've got that right. But I'm not really into true crime. So for me, that didn't tamper my enjoyment. But just be warned that if you do read true crime and things like that, it seems that Catherine Ryan Howard's books are heavily based on real events. So that might scarper your enjoyment of it. I like that word, scarper. That's a good... is it the right word? I don't know, but it's a good word. And then, is it too early for Christmas novels? Maybe, but I'm still going to roll with this one because on the 24th of August is Through the Snow Globe by Annie Raines. Now, I can't buy any Christmas books this year. Not that that's a problem. I have a whole shelf of this size, double stacked with Christmas books. But Christmas is the kind of season that I really come alive with books, and I have been disappointed by a lot of Christmas books. Let me tell you, when you watch my festive book guide each year, I don't mention the stack of books that I have either DNF'd or got to the end of and just been like, really? Really? However, let me read you the blurb of this one. This will be out in audiobook and paperback, but it says, Diana Merriman is probably the only person in the small town of Snowhaven who isn't looking forward to Christmas. It's been 3 weeks since her fiancé Linus was hit by a car as he biked home from the toy store he owns. When she uncovers the surprise gift Linus had bought her for Christmas, a snow globe of their town the night before Christmas Eve, little does she know it will set her on a course that will change everything, because Diana wakes up to find that it's the day of Linus's accident. Stuck in an endless loop, repeating the day over and over, Diana fights fate to save her fiancé, but it's not just Linus who needs rescuing. As Diana uncovers startling truths about herself and her relationship, the future becomes even more uncertain. And a few years ago, I read All About Us by Tom Ellen, which had this kind of time loop thing in it, and I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, that sounds great. I really, really hope that that comes onto either Scribd or Libby or BorrowBox before Christmas, because that just sounds brilliant and I really want to read it. I like that it's a little bit different. You know that I love my fluffy community-based books, but especially in the run-up to Christmas when I'm reading a lot of them, they do start to mesh into one. So I always like something that stands out a little bit. So like I like Christmas-based thrillers or things like that. I like to read a bit of middle grade. But yeah, that one sounds right up my street. And talking of middle grade, on the 29th of August, we have The Lost Library by Rebecca Stead and Wendy Mass. I read Rebecca Stead's The List of Things That Will Not Change last year, I think, and really, really enjoyed the writing style. So this one, you know me, anything that has the word library or bookstore in the title is going to catch my attention. And it says, when a mysterious little free library guarded by a large orange cat appears overnight in the small town of Martinville, 11-year-old Evan plucks 2 weathered books from its shelves, never suspecting that his life is about to change. Evan and his best friend Raph quickly discover a link between one of the old books and a long ago event that none of the grown-ups want to talk about. The 2 boys start asking questions whose answers will transform not only their own futures but the town itself. Told in turn by a ghost librarian named Elle, an ageing but beautiful cat named Mortimer, and Evan himself, The Lost Library is a timeless story about owning your truth, choosing the life you want, and the power of a good book, and of course the librarian who gave it to you. And I think that this is going to be there somewhere with Pages & Co. Now, Pages & Co, I've said before, I really enjoyed at first, but I'm ready for the series to finish now. I believe this is going to be a standalone book, but I don't know for definite. And yeah, that one is well and truly on my radar. I think that's the kind of book. It says it's for reading ages 8 to 12. It might even be something that I buy my nephew for Christmas. It just sounds really sweet and really... I love anything that encourages reading and the power of books, put it that way. And last but by no means least, on the 31st of August is Cleaner by Brandy Wells. Now, this is complete contrast to the last book. But this says, I clean the offices and bathrooms and lobby 5 nights a week, but my actual job is to take care of everyone. They need so much help. At night in a corporate office block in an unnamed metropolitan city, a cleaner begins her shift. As she cleans sad intern's desk, she throws away some of her more alarming health supplements and leaves her healthy snacks instead. Mr. Buff's desk is immaculate, but he seems to have a secret smoking habit, not conducive to his fitness journey, which she's going to help him kick. She confiscates the knitted coaster that attractive, sensitive yarn guy has given to Cola Woman, someone who clips her nails in the office and doesn't deserve his gifts. But tonight, while scrolling through your emails, she'll discover the secret you've been hiding, the one that will threaten her job and the jobs of everyone she takes care of. And you're about to find out that sometimes your most powerful enemy is the one you don't even see. I like stories about people who kind of blend into the background, and this sounds like it's gonna hit that nail on the head. I think that there's a big portion of society who kind of look down on cleaners, and I know when I worked at McDonald's I was looked down on a lot, and I just think that all these people that do these kind of jobs are amazing because they do things that other people don't want to do. And I think a lot of them have found the secret to not getting involved in workplace politics, etc., by just going under the radar. And yeah, that sounds right up my street. So that has been all the anticipated releases for the month of August. Let me know if there's anything I've missed off this list that you're really excited about. And let me know if you've enjoyed this kind of slightly different setup with me reading out the blurbs to you. I know some people on BookTube don't like when BookTubers read out blurbs, but I just think, especially when it's a book that I haven't read yet, that's the best way to give you the information. Once I've read a book, I can tell you what I thought of it and whether I think the blurbs have spoilers or anything, but before I've read it, I'm kind of going in blind here. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and until next time, look after yourselves. Bye.